Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. Prime Minister Netanyahu said on Monday in Jerusalem, quote, "Today the embassy of the most powerful nation on earth, our greatest ally, the United States of America, opened its embassy here. In Jerusalem, King David established our capital 3,000 years ago. In Jerusalem, King Solomon built our temple, which stood for many centuries. In Jerusalem, Jewish exiles from Babylon rebuilt the temple, which stood for many more centuries. In Jerusalem, the Maccabees rededicated that temple and restored Jewish sovereignty in this land. We are in Jerusalem, and we are here to stay. You can only build peace on truth, and the truth is that Jerusalem has been and always will be the capital of the Jewish people, the capital of the Jewish state. May the opening of this embassy in this city spread the truth far and wide, and may the truth advance a lasting peace between Israel and all our neighbors." Close quote. I don't know about that lasting peace part, but boy, Benjamin Netanyahu is a man who always delivers a cascade of flowering sentences like no one else. Turning to my personal thoughts, in this past Saturday's Walk in the Word, I talked about Yochanan, that's John, chapter 8, where the scribes and Pharisees were looking to test, trap, and accuse Yuhshua with a woman that they were accusing of adultery. Yuhshua stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger in the dust of the earth. As they continued to badger him with questions, then he stood up and said, "Let the one who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her." And then he bent down and went on writing on the ground with his finger again. Everyone asks what Yuhshua was writing or what he was doing, and the common answer given by most pastors and evangelists who have been trained in various cemeteries. Oh, you mean seminaries? Cemeteries. Is that he was writing their sins in the dirt. You probably heard that as the explanation and probably none other. But there's absolutely no scriptural foundation for that most common answer given, my friends. It's just a doctrine of men that adds to and takes away from the word of Yahweh, as most religions train men to do with pretty much all of Yahweh's word. Abba Father Yahweh wrote the 10 Commandments in stone 2 times, and Yeshua wrote in the dust of the earth 2 times. Yahweh's commandments were written in stone. They are not to fade away. What Yeshua wrote 2 times was in the dust of the earth, something that vanishes rather quickly. But he wasn't writing their sins down. According to the word of Yahweh, he was writing their names down. Look at Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 13. "All who forsake Yahweh shall be put to shame. They who depart from you, Yahweh, and me Isaiah, Yahweh's prophet, shall disappear, just like writing upon the dust of the earth disappears, because they have forsaken Yahweh, the source of living waters, or the source of the waters of Chai. Selah. Turning to wars and rumors of wars, on Friday, May 18th, from the Times of Israel, massive explosions rocked the Hama military airbase in Syria, killing at least 11 pro-Assad regime fighters. The target was an Iranian long-range missile defense system, a state-of-the-art model that was unveiled in 2016 and put into service last year in March. Looking at our Intifada update, on Monday, May 21st, from Ynet News, at least 59 Israeli Arabs were killed in violent clashes with the IDF on the border with Israel. IDF planes and tanks attacked Hamas targets in Gaza following attempts to plant an explosive device on the fence and gunfire at soldiers. Defense officials said Hamas was offering Israeli Arabs families in Gaza $100 if all family members took part in the protests. Schools were closed to encourage residents to join the protests, and buses provided transportation to the border area. However, Hamas failed. Israeli Arabs in the West Bank and Jerusalem did not rise up to clash with Israeli security forces. In Gaza, barely 40,000 protested at the border. Now, that's a large number for sure, my friends, but nowhere near the 100,000 that Hamas wanted to see. The Israeli Arabs are talking about creating a massacre, but the Gazans had a choice. They could have not tried to breach the border fence, and then they would not have been killed. They were also warned in advance in every possible way. The Gazans who were killed were not defending their homes from an Israeli invasion. They were trying to invade Israel. Monday's violent clashes on the Gaza border occurred at 13 different locations. The following Israeli Arab attacks were recorded. At 12:53 p.m., 5 pipe bombs exploded. At 12:58 p.m., a bomb exploded. At 1:15 p.m., a terror cell sought to plant explosives by the border fence and opened fire on IDF forces. At 1:30 p.m., more fire was opened on IDF forces. At 1:45 p.m., more fire was opened on IDF forces by 8 terrorists. At 2:09 p.m., 3 bombs exploded. At 3:10 p.m., another bomb exploded. At 7:02 p.m., terrorists opened fire at IDF troops, and 17 kites carrying flammable materials were flown from Gaza into Israel, causing fires in 23 locations. From the Israel Security Agency, Iran has been transferring funds to Hamas for violent action at the Gaza border fence area. Hamas militants are taking an active part in the violence by wielding firebombs, knives, and large wire cutters. They supply Gaza residents with tires and assist them in setting them on fire in order to create thick smoke, and they supply gasoline for the kite-borne firebombs designed to burn Israeli fields. On Wednesday, May 16th, from the Jerusalem Post, 5 homes in the Israeli city of Sderot were struck by Israeli Arab machine gun fire. The IDF responded with tank fire against 2 Hamas observation posts in Gaza. Then on Friday, May 18th, from the Times of Israel, 1,000 Israeli Arabs took part in clashes along the border fence on Friday afternoon, and several thousand were in protest camps further back. On Saturday, May 19th, from the Middle East Monitor, Israeli tanks in Syria's Golan Heights shelled Hezbollah positions in southern Syria. The shelling targeted the village of Tulul al-Humur, south of Quneitra. Meanwhile, explosions were heard in the Deir ez-Zor military airport in eastern Syria. Then from Sputnik News, the Israeli military struck a Hamas outpost in northern Gaza Strip as retaliation for strikes targeting Israel's military. Israel views Hamas as a terrorist group and blames the movement for inciting violence in the Gaza border region, as well as using protests to stage attacks against the Israeli military. A 6-week protest campaign dubbed the Great March of Return and organized by Hamas began on March 30th. According to Hamas, Israeli Arabs are peacefully demanding their right to return to territories they claim were illegally seized by Israel, while Israeli authorities say that Israeli Arabs can settle only in Gaza and the West Bank. Looking at our review of last week's news, massive explosions rocked the Hama military airbase in Syria. At least 59 Israeli Arabs were killed in violent clashes with the IDF on the border with Israel. But Hamas failed. Israeli Arabs in the West Bank and Jerusalem did not rise up to clash with Israeli security forces. In Gaza, barely 40,000 protested at the border, a large number for sure, but nowhere near the 100,000 Hamas wanted to see. Monday's violent clashes on the Gaza border occurred at 13 different locations. Iran has been transferring funds to Hamas for violent action at the Gaza border fence area. 5 homes in the Israeli city of Sderot were struck by Israeli Arab machine gun fire. 1,000 Israeli Arabs took part in clashes along the border fence on Friday afternoon, and several thousand were in protest camps further back. Israeli tanks in Syria's Golan Heights shelled Hezbollah positions in southern Syria, and the Israeli military struck a Hamas outpost in northern Gaza Strip as retaliation for strikes targeting Israel's military. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, keep your wicks trimmed and keep your lamps burning bright. Shalom, my friends.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.